Welcome to Empathy Stories, where extraordinary encounters turn into unforgettable journeys. Tonight, we bring you a story of kindness, resilience, and the power of connection. When a man invites a street sweeper to his company's Christmas party, he uncovers a stunning secret that will change both their lives forever. Stay tuned for this heartwarming tale. The streets of New York City were dressed in their holiday best, with strings of glittering lights draped over lampposts and trees. The faint sound of carolers floated through the crisp winter air, blending with the occasional honk of a taxi. It was Christmas Eve, and the city was alive with its usual energy, though there was an added layer of warmth in the festive cheer. Amidst the rush of shoppers and sightseers, Michael Carter, a corporate executive at Summit Industries, walked briskly through the bustling streets, his tailored overcoat wrapped tightly against the biting wind. To anyone passing by, Michael seemed like the picture of success, confident, polished, and clearly well off. His expensive leather briefcase swung by his side as he navigated the crowds, but his expression betrayed a man lost in thought. The holiday lights reflected off the shop windows around him, but Michael barely noticed them, for all the prestige and power his position afforded him. Something about the holiday season always left him feeling hollow. Summit Industries was at the top of its game, and Michael had played a key role in its rise. He had spent years climbing the corporate ladder, making sacrifices and choices that had brought him wealth and influence. Yet, as he glanced around at the joyful faces of families and couples on the street, he couldn't ignore the emptiness that lingered within him. It wasn't loneliness exactly. Michael had colleagues, acquaintances, and more connections than he could count. But in moments like these, he realized how disconnected he felt from the world beyond boardrooms and profit margins. As he turned down a quieter side street to escape the holiday rush, something caught his eye. On a dimly lit corner, just outside a small convenience store, a woman in an orange reflective vest was sweeping the icy sidewalk. Her movements were purposeful, her broom scraping against the pavement with steady strokes. She was working with a quiet determination. Despite the freezing cold, Michael slowed his pace. His curiosity piqued. There was something in her demeanor that struck him. Perhaps the resilience she exuded or the sense of purpose in her actions. The woman looked to be in her late 40s, her face lined with the marks of a hard life. Her dark hair was pulled back beneath a knit cap, and her hands, though gloved, moved with the precision of someone used to physical labor. A cardboard sign leaned against the wall beside her. It read, "Hard times. Any help appreciated." Michael felt an unexpected tug at his heart. He wasn't the type to stop for strangers, especially in a city where encounters with people in need were all too common. But tonight, something compelled him. Maybe it was the season, or maybe it was the deep-seated yearning for something more meaningful than his carefully curated life. He approached her hesitantly. "Excuse me," he said, his voice softer than he intended. "Do you need any help?" The woman paused mid-sweep and looked up at him. Her eyes were sharp, her expression neither hostile nor welcoming, but guarded. She studied him for a moment before speaking. "As much help as anyone could use out here in the cold," she replied, her voice calm but edged with weariness. "But I'm getting by. Thanks for asking." Michael hesitated, unsure how to proceed. He glanced at the sign by her feet, then back at her. "I mean, it's Christmas Eve. I figured it must be hard, being out here." She smiled faintly, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Hard? Sure. But work is work. Somebody has to keep these streets clean." Her answer surprised him. There was no bitterness in her tone, just an acceptance of her circumstances that Michael couldn't quite comprehend. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a few bills, extending them toward her. "Here, maybe this can help. At least get yourself something warm to eat." The woman glanced at the money but didn't reach for it. Instead, she shook her head. "I appreciate the gesture, but I'm not out here for handouts. Just doing my job." Michael felt a flush of embarrassment. He hadn't meant to insult her, but he realized now that his offer might have come across as condescending. "I didn't mean to offend you," he said quickly. I thought you could use a little kindness tonight." The woman's expression softened slightly. "Kindness is rare these days," she admitted. but it's not always about money. Michael nodded, his mind racing to find another way to bridge the gap between them. Then, an idea struck him, a wild, impulsive idea that even he didn't fully understand. You know, he began, there's a Christmas party tomorrow night in my company, Summit Industries. It's a pretty big deal, formal, fancy, the whole 9 yards. I'm allowed to bring a guest. And well, I was wondering if you'd like to come. The woman stared at him. Her broom paused mid-sweep. You're inviting me to a corporate Christmas party? She asked, incredulous. A street cleaner? Michael chuckled nervously, realizing how absurd his offer must have sounded. I know it's not the kind of thing you'd expect, he said, but I think you'd enjoy it. It's warm, there's great food, and who knows? You might meet some interesting people. Maybe it's just what you need. The woman seemed to consider this, her brow furrowing as she studied him. Why would you invite me? You don't even know me. Michael shrugged, his gaze steady. Maybe I don't, he admitted, but I believe everyone deserves a chance to experience something different. And something about you, I don't know. I just think you're more than what people see. The woman's guarded demeanor faltered, replaced by a flicker of surprise, and perhaps a glimmer of hope. She looked down at the broom in her hands, then back at Michael. All right, she said at last. I'll go, but only if you promise not to treat me like charity. Michael smiled, relief washing over him. Deal, he said, extending his hand. I'm Michael Carter. By the way, Sophia Walker, she replied, shaking his hand firmly. Her grip was strong, her eyes unwavering. As they parted ways that night, Michael felt a sense of anticipation he hadn't experienced in years. Something about meeting Sophia had stirred something deep within him, a reminder of humanity's resilience, dignity, and the power of kindness. He couldn't explain why, but he felt that this encounter was the beginning of something significant, not just for her, but for himself as well. Sophia, meanwhile, walked home with a mixture of skepticism and cautious optimism. She didn't know what to expect from this strange invitation, but for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to hope. Maybe, just maybe, this Christmas would be different. The following day, Michael found himself surprisingly excited as he prepared for the Summit Industries Christmas Gala. He wasn't one for grand parties, usually attending them out of obligation rather than genuine interest. But this year felt different. Meeting Sophia had sparked something in him, something he couldn't quite name, but that made the evening feel more meaningful than it had in years. Meanwhile, across town, Sophia Walker was feeling a mix of apprehension and disbelief. She had spent most of the day debating whether she had made the right decision. The idea of stepping into a world so far removed from her own life was daunting. Yet, the sincerity in Michael's eyes and the warmth in his voice had convinced her to take a chance. Still, she couldn't shake the fear of standing out for all the wrong reasons. By late afternoon, Michael arrived outside Sophia's small apartment building in a sleek black car. It was a far cry from the bustling street corner where they'd first met. As he waited on the curb, he felt a flicker of nervousness, unsure if Sophia would actually come. But when the door opened, there she was, bundled in her oversized orange jacket and mismatched gloves, a shy but determined look on her face. Hi, Michael greeted her, stepping out to open the car door. Ready for tonight? Sophia hesitated, then nodded. As ready as I'll ever be, she said, her voice steady but laced with uncertainty. Michael offered her a reassuring smile. Don't worry, tonight's about having a good time. Let's start with finding you something perfect to wear. The car whisked them to Renewal Threads, a boutique Michael had chosen for its elegant yet understated selection. The name seemed fitting, both for the store and for the evening they were about to embark on. As they stepped inside, a friendly saleswoman greeted them with a warm smile. Looking for something special tonight? The woman asked, her gaze flicking between Michael and Sophia with a touch of curiosity. Yes, Michael replied. We need a dress for a formal Christmas party. Something elegant but comfortable. Sophia glanced around the store, feeling out of place amidst the racks of shimmering fabrics and perfectly styled mannequins. She hadn't been in a boutique like this in years, if ever. The memory of her old life, one that had been full of promise and stability. Felt like a distant dream. Now, standing here, she wasn't sure she could reclaim even a small piece of it. The saleswoman, sensing Sophia's hesitation, gently guided her toward a rack of classic evening gowns. "Why don't you start here?" she suggested, pulling out a simple black sheath dress with a modest neckline. "This might be a good fit." Sophia reached out to touch the fabric, her fingers brushing against the smooth material. It felt foreign yet familiar, like a ghost from another life. She nodded and took the dress to the fitting room, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and doubt. While Sophia tried on the dress, Michael wandered the store, his mind wandering to the events of the past day. He still wasn't entirely sure why he had invited Sophia to the gala. It had been an impulsive decision, driven by a feeling he couldn't quite explain. But now, as he waited for her to emerge, he realized how much he wanted this night to be a success, not just for her, but for himself as well. When Sophia stepped out of the fitting room, Michael froze. The transformation was striking. The dress fit her perfectly, hugging her frame in a way that was both elegant and understated. Her hair, usually tucked under a cap, framed her face in soft waves. For a moment, she looked every bit the part of someone who belonged in the world he inhabited. "You look incredible," Michael said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Sophia's cheeks flushed. "It's just a dress," she said, though her voice betrayed a hint of pride. "It's more than that," Michael replied. "It's you. You carry yourself differently." Sophia smiled, though her nerves still lingered. "Thank you," she said softly. With the dress chosen, Michael insisted on a quick trip to a nearby salon, though Sophia protested, claiming it was unnecessary. She eventually relented, as stylists worked to tame her hair and apply subtle makeup. Sophia couldn't help but feel a flicker of excitement. It wasn't just the transformation on the outside, it was the sense of possibility that came with it. By the time they arrived at the gala, the sun had set, and the Waldorf ballroom glowed with warm, golden light. The Grand Hotel was adorned with towering Christmas trees, glittering ornaments, and garlands draped along the banisters. Guests in shimmering gowns and tailored suits milled about, their laughter and chatter filling the air. As Michael and Sophia stepped inside, the room seemed to pause. Heads turned, and whispers rippled through the crowd. Michael felt the weight of the stares, but he refused to let them bother him. He offered Sophia his arm and led her confidently into the throng of guests. Sophia, however, couldn't ignore the judgmental glances and murmurs. She had known this would happen, people questioning who she was and why she was here. But instead of shrinking under their scrutiny, she straightened her posture and held her head high. If tonight was her chance to reclaim some part of herself, she wasn't going to let anyone take it from her. As they made their way to the bar, a familiar voice called out, "Michael, there you are." Turning, Michael saw Emily Collins, one of his colleagues at Summit Industries. Emily was known for her bold personality and sharp wit, and tonight was no exception. She approached them with her usual confidence, her eyes quickly assessing Sophia. "And who is this?" Emily asked, her tone polite but laced with curiosity. "This is Sophia," Michael replied, his voice steady. "She's my guest tonight." Emily's eyebrows lifted slightly, though she quickly masked her surprise. "Sophia, it's nice to meet you," she said, extending a hand. "I don't think I've seen you at one of these before." Sophia met Emily's gaze with calm determination. "I'm not usually in places like this," she admitted, "but it's nice to be here." Emily smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Well, enjoy the party," she said before turning her attention back to Michael. "I need to talk to you about the Anderson deal when you have a moment." "Later," Michael said firmly. He turned back to Sophia, his focus unwavering. "Let's get something to eat." As the night wore on, Sophia began to relax. Though the whispers and glances didn't entirely fade, she found herself enjoying the atmosphere, the music, the food, and even the company. Michael stayed by her side, offering quiet encouragement and ensuring she felt comfortable. For Michael, the night was more than just another corporate event. Watching Sophia navigate the gala with grace and dignity reminded him of what truly mattered. In a world driven by ambition and appearances, it was easy to lose sight of the simple joys of connection and kindness. As the evening wound down, Michael and Sophia found themselves standing near the edge of the ballroom, gazing out at the glittering lights of the city beyond. "Thank you for tonight," Sophia said quietly, her voice filled with gratitude. "I didn't think I could do this, but you believed in me." Michael smiled, his heart full. "You didn't just do this, you owned it. You belong here." "Sophia, don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Sophia's eyes glimmered with a mixture of pride and humility. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as a street cleaner or someone struggling to get by, but as a person with worth and potential. As they stepped out into the cold night air, neither of them could have anticipated how much this evening would change their lives. For Michael, it was a reminder of the power of kindness. For Sophia, it was the first step toward reclaiming her place in the world. The night air was crisp as Michael and Sophia stepped out of the Waldorf ballroom. The city sparkled around them, its skyline a mesmerizing tapestry of lights. Sophia pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders. Her cheeks flushed from both the cold and the whirlwind of the evening. She felt different somehow, lighter, more confident, as though this night had helped her rediscover a piece of herself she thought was lost. Michael turned to her, a genuine smile on his face. "You were incredible tonight," he said. "I hope you know that." Sophia chuckled softly, shaking her head. "I don't know about that," she replied, "but I'll admit, it was something I'll never forget." "Thank you, Michael. You didn't have to do any of this." "I wanted to," he said simply. "You deserved it." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. A tall man in a sharp suit emerged from the crowd, his polished appearance commanding attention. His expression shifted the moment he spotted Sophia. There was a warmth in his eyes that, "Sophia," the man said, his voice filled with both surprise and relief. "I didn't expect to see you here." Sophia turned to face him, her composure faltering for a moment before she recovered. "James," she said quietly, "I wasn't sure you'd be here tonight." Michael's gaze darted between them, confusion etched on his face. "Sophia, who is this?" he asked carefully. The man extended his hand toward Michael. "James Anderson," he said, introducing himself. "I'm Sophia's husband." Michael blinked, the revelation hitting him like a gust of wind. "Husband," he repeated, his voice tinged with disbelief. Sophia's shoulders tensed as she met Michael's questioning eyes. "It's complicated," she admitted. "James and I have been separated for some time." James stepped closer, his expression earnest. "Sophia, I've been searching for you. I wanted to talk, to try to make things right." Sophia hesitated, her emotions swirling. The pain of their past was still fresh, but so was the faint hope that something could change. She glanced at Michael, whose face was a mixture of shock and understanding. "You've been kind to her," James said, addressing Michael. "I don't know the details, but I can see that much." "Thank you." Michael nodded, though he was still processing everything. "Sophia is remarkable," he said sincerely. "I just wanted her to see that for herself." The moment was heavy with unspoken emotions. Sophia, feeling the weight of the evening, spoke softly. "James, I think it's best if we talk another time. Tonight was about finding a part of myself again." James nodded, his respect for her decision evident. "Of course," he said, "but when you're ready, I'll be here." As James stepped away, giving them space, Michael turned to Sophia. "I didn't know you were married," he said gently. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sophia sighed, her breath visible in the cold air. "It's not something I share easily," she admitted. "James and I had a life together once, but things fell apart. I stepped away from it all, thinking I could find myself again. Instead, I ended up on the streets, sweeping sidewalks just to get by." Michael's heart ached at her honesty. "You've been through so much," he said softly. "But tonight, I saw someone strong, someone who hasn't given up." Sophia smiled faintly. "Maybe tonight was the start of something new," she said. "Not just for me, but for both of us." Before Michael could respond, Another figure approached, Robert Langston, the CEO of Summit Industries. His presence carried the authority of a man used to commanding attention. Yet his tone was warm as he greeted Michael. "Michael," Robert said with a nod, "I've been hearing good things about you tonight." "Thank you, sir," Michael replied, trying to keep his tone professional despite the night's whirlwind events. Robert's gaze shifted to Sophia. His curiosity piqued. "And you must be Sophia. I've heard your name come up a few times tonight." Sophia straightened, meeting his gaze with quiet dignity. "It's a pleasure to meet you," she said. Robert smiled, clearly impressed. "I'd like to thank you both for reminding us what truly matters this time of year," he said. "Kindness, connection, and a willingness to see beyond appearances. That's something this company and this city could use more of." He turned to Michael, his expression serious yet encouraging. "Michael, I've been considering creating a new role at Summit, something focused on social impact and community engagement. After tonight, I think you're the person for the job. What do you think?" Michael's eyes widened in surprise. I'm honored," he stammered, "but I've never worked in that kind of role before." "You have the heart for it," Robert said simply, "and that's what matters most." Michael glanced at Sophia, whose quiet encouragement gave him the confidence to nod. "Then I'd be honored to take on the challenge," he said. Robert clapped him on the shoulder. "Good. We'll discuss the details after the holidays. For now, enjoy the rest of your evening." As Robert walked away, Michael turned to Sophia, his mind racing with possibilities. "I didn't see that coming," he admitted. "But maybe this is what I've been missing, a chance to do something that matters." Sophia smiled, her heart warmed by his sincerity. "Sometimes, life surprises us in the best ways," she said. They stood there for a moment, the city buzzing around them. Yet their corner of the world felt still. In each other, they had found a spark of hope, a reminder that kindness and connection could lead to something greater. As they walked away from the Waldorf Ballroom, the night felt full of promise. For Michael, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one where success wasn't measured by profit margins, but by the impact he could make. For Sophia, it was a step toward reclaiming her life and the dignity she thought she had lost. And as the holiday lights twinkled above them, they both knew that this Christmas Eve had changed everything. It was the start of a journey neither of them had expected, but one they were ready to embrace together. Thank you for watching this incredible story of redemption and discovery on Empathy Stories. Michael and Sophia's journey reminds us that beneath the surface, everyone has a story worth hearing, and kindness has the power to spark transformation. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more moving narratives. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Remember, even the smallest gestures of compassion can create a ripple of hope. Until next time, stay kind and empathetic.